Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sports View. I'm Ron Cameron, doing the show alone today. Bob Page is in New York doing his homework, trying to realize what's going on with the New York sports teams, raving about how great the Rangers are and things like that. When will New York spit him out? He'll be back in Detroit. Who knows when? But he's going to be coming back doing some shows periodically on the program. Our guest today, or my guest today, I should say, is former Red Wing Dennis Hextall, and we'll talk about a variety of subjects, all including hockey, including the latest in the Peter Klima saga. Oh, isn't this guy beautiful? This guy dumb, or is he stupid, or what? What's the situation here? Drunk driving. He's with two ladies in the car. You would think if somebody's having a few drinks and he's in the situation, Peter Klima's in that situation, he'd have somebody drive him home. But no, big, cocky Peter. What does that do for Peter Klima? But I don't believe one thing. I don't believe that he has no value. I'm going to make a call this week to my sources in the NHL and find out what kind of value Peter Klima has. I would think Glenn Sather would take him in a minute. Look what he did, Craig McTavish, what he took him right out of the jail cell and put him in Edmonton. And this isn't as bad as that. In one way, it's not as bad. Another way, it's just a sad case in sports, what these athletes are today. Spoiled brats, prima donnas, and most of them, or a lot of them, are just plain jerks. And Peter Klima's in that situation. At least Bob Probert checked himself into the Betty Ford Center in Los Angeles. Can you imagine if Betty Ford had to go one-on-one with Bob Probert? She'd be back drinking, I would think. But the situation still remains. You got some problems here, and you got some real problems in Peter Klima. And you got, I wouldn't say you release him, but you might have to. It's that bad right now. And speaking of the Red Wings, off to just a horrible start. I still see that light at the end of the tunnel. This is still a pretty good team. They'll still win this division. We'll talk more with Dennis Hextall about that. And you know what I didn't do? And I didn't say the advertisers. So let's go through that, and then we'll talk a couple more things and bring up Dennis Hextall. Al Dietrich Oldsmobile on M59 in Waterford. If you want a car, you'll get a better deal than Al Dietrich than just about anywhere else. Sports Fans Journal, oh, you better believe it. I'm going to show that. The hottest sports magazine going, entering its third year now. If you'd like to subscribe, dial this number 24 hours a day for subscription information, 751-1818. We also have TK Seafood Grotto, a great seafood restaurant on Southfield at 10 Mile. The Sports Medicine Center with 3 locations. Jack Moores is running those. Top Hat for the best little burger in town, where you will not see Bob Page because he's in New York. He's making some big bucks now in New York. The Sting, hot new nightclub on James Cousins at the Lodge. Cattleman's Meat Center with David Lee Roth and Associates on 2 locations in Eastern Market and in Hamtramck. Town Center Heating and Cooling. Pro-Am Sports Systems. If you want to see the Red Wings and Pistons this winter, call them. And Binary Computers on Woodward at 12 Mile for all your computer needs. It's in Berkeley. Thermo Window if you're trying to replace your windows. And those are the advertisers today, the sponsors on Sports View. Dennis Hextall coming up, but continuing a little bit more. The playoffs. Have you ever seen such bad... I said this all year, you got bad baseball. You look at the L.A.-New York series, and it's just unbelievable what's going on over there. I think still the Mets, although you're watching this before Game 5, the Mets will advance. Now, I do say this as far as Oakland, it's the year of the Athletics, but the Mets will win the World Series. But you got to take your hats off to the A's. They're doing an excellent job. Tony La Russa has done a good job with that ball club. That's a pretty solid veteran team. The suspension, I'll go along with it. I think that's a good move, and I get sick of hearing these people on television Sunday night crying, oh, I take my best relief pitcher. He was cheating, that's why. Got suspended for doing something illegally, and don't believe for 1 minute, like these people are talking about, it doesn't do anything to the ball. Putting that stuff on the ball, it does do something with it for a slider and a curveball, so that is completely wrong. So the suspension, I think, was a good gutty move by the National League president, Giamatti, and I think that as far as I'm concerned, I'm back for the rest of the World Series, because when he's cheating, you're caught. They talk about other people do it. They're not getting caught, so as far as we're concerned, they're not doing it. They're innocent until proven guilty. This guy's proven guilty. Suspend him. It's a good move. Let's hope the Players Association doesn't step in and stop this, and let's hope it just goes through smoothly like it should. Dennis Hextall, and we're going to talk football. We're going to talk football more in the next program. We want to talk a lot of hockey on the Peter Klima situation, Bob Probert, and more about the Red Wings. But the Lions, as you didn't know, put on a subpar performance. We'll talk about it in the next program with Kurt Sylvester of the Detroit Free Press and Mike O'Hara of the Detroit News coming up later in the week. Dennis Hextall, former Red Wing, coming up next on Sports View after this timeout.
What's the problem, lady? Where's your husband?
I don't need this.
You don't. Let Uncle Al's Army come through for you.
Yes, ma'am. No problem. Coffee?
Uncle Al's highly trained army attacks general and major repairs on your private vehicle in a personal way. Thanks.
No, thank you.
Uncle Al, crushing the competition and high-cost service with the respect you deserve.
L. Dietrich, Oldsmobile, GMC Truck in Waterford.
If you're a sports fan, whether you live in Michigan or anywhere in the United States, you should subscribe to this magazine, Sports Fans Journal, and here's how. Our columns include Ernie Harwell, George Kell, Don Cherry, George Allen, Denny McClain, Jim Northrup, Bob Feller, Dick Vitale. Also more stars and features and profiles. For more information, call 24 hours a day, 751-1818. Sports Fans Journal is available at newsstands and bookstores and Tiger Stadium souvenir stands. Call 751-1818.
It's brand new, and it's soon to be the hottest seafood place in suburban Detroit. It's TK's Seafood Grotto. At TK's, you'll find the finest and most original seafood anywhere. 35 different dishes, each prepared to order with the freshest fare flown in every day. TK's also has great steaks and chops, lunch or dinner, and there's entertainment too, beginning with TK's special cocktail hour at 5 p.m. So whether it's a special evening out for two or groups up to 100, it's TK's Seafood Grotto, the northern suburb's most beautiful new restaurant.
We can be easily reached from anywhere in the metropolitan Detroit area. Located at 10 Mile in Southfield, please come out and see us soon.
We're back on Sports View with former Red Wing and come from a long line of Hextall players. Dennis Hextall. Well, you had a lot of people playing in the NHL before you. Of course, your brother Brian, and then your father and everything. I think there were your father and uncle, was it?
I had my father, who played for several years in the New York Rangers, Hall of Fame. I had my older brother Brian, played for 12 years, and I had an uncle on my mother's side, played a few games with Boston. Plus, I had another cousin on my father's side that played a few games with New York.
From a lot of hockey people. They just drove you into hockey then? Is that how it started?
Well, we grew up in a small farm town up in Canada, and there wasn't much else to do in the winter, so we did a lot of skating.
And now Dennis, you played in the NHL. You were called by some pound for pound and inch for inch, maybe the toughest player in the league. And I think Jimmy Rutherford made that comment to me, that you were as tough as anybody playing in the NHL. And you played on guts, determination, everything else. You had some ability, but you also played because you made a comment for the show I thought was very interesting. Can you imagine looking at a guy like Joe Murphy, or Peter Klima for that matter, if you had their leg, if they had your attitude, and you had their leg, what a combination that would be.
Well, I think attitude, you have to have it not only in sports, but every walk of life. I mean, I just feel that since I've got out of hockey, if I put the same effort into what I'm doing now that I did when I played hockey, that I think I'll succeed. And I look at some of those kids with all that God-given talent, and I really believe that some of them don't have their heads on right, and that's why they have the problems. And Peter Klima, I guess, is a real good example right now. He's got a lot of problems, but when he's on the ice and when he's playing hockey to his ability, there's very few guys in the NHL that can match him.
Who do you blame?
I read an article about a week ago in the paper, and I forget who wrote it, but maybe it's too much, too quick, coming from where he did. You know, he can't go back. He's got all that money, he's got all the publicity, and I don't believe they're used to it. And he come over here, he's still young, and they're loaded on with all, with everything. And I think some kids can handle it. An example is Stevie Yzerman.
Class.
Just class individual. On the ice, off the ice. Peter Klima has come up, and he just can't seem to handle it off the ice.
What do you do with Peter Klima and Bob Probert? Starting with Klima.
I don't know. I don't know the kid personally, so it's hard to say. I don't know what you can do to work with him, but if he doesn't want to cooperate with you as a management, and I know the management has gone out of their way to try help him individually.
Maybe even too much out of their way.
Maybe so, but where do you find another player with that kind of talent? So you've got to, you can go back to Detroit, and they've always said they've made some bad trades. They got rid of Peter Mahovlich, and look what Peter's career turned out to be, just great. And Peter was no angel, like off the ice. So I think they're giving Klima a chance, and hopefully that he'll come around. I think Bob Probert, it'll be interesting to see how this works out, but apparently he's checked himself into the Betty Ford Clinic, and hopefully it's going to work out. But I believe some of these kids don't realize that their careers are so short. A guy like Bob Probert, he's not a great skater. He's big, he's tough, he's good in front of the net, and he's an asset to the team. But a player like that hasn't got a great pair of wheels is not going to be around 12 to 15 years. He could have a short career because there's tough kids coming up every year.
Do you believe, we're led to believe, I'm not saying the Red Wings are lying in this, but they're saying they're not getting any offers and he has no value. I find that hard to believe, meaning Peter Klima. I find that very hard to believe unless you're basing all of it off the ice. I know if I had a team that, coaches in sports are very funny. General managers, they feel that, well, if they come over here, we'll handle them. They all feel that. Is Jacques Demers held in such high esteem in the NHL, they feel, well, if he can't play for Demers, he can't play for us too?
I really don't know whether the rest of the league feels that way. Maybe what they're saying, if you read between the lines, is they may be getting offers, but they're not getting offers in comparable talent. So why give up that talent? Let's take the chance and work with them rather than give them up for somebody that we believe is not as good a hockey player or may not help our hockey club.
You look at Edmonton, when, as I mentioned, that McTavish gets involved and is in jail for a year in that hit accident when he killed the girl when he was drinking. He gets out of jail, nobody wanted him, Edmonton grabbed him. And I know, at least we're led to believe, that Glenn Sather was a big fan of Peter Kleeman. Now, this isn't, in one way it's worse, but in another way, because nobody's gotten hurt or nobody's gotten killed or anything like that, it's not as bad a situation. Do you think Sather would hold him in still in high esteem, or does he feel that he's beyond repair?
I believe Glenn Sather would take Peter Kleeman. I think any team in the league would take him. But the thing is, what are you going to get in return? I don't think that I would trade a Peter Klima for a McTavish. I mean,
no, not a McTavish. No, you're talking about him drunk for a jailbird.
No, but you've got a guy like McTavish who fits into Edmonton. There's two lines are high-powered offensive lines.
Yeah.
And you've got a guy that's a journeyman, basically a journeyman hockey player. And I don't know that Detroit really needs another check and center.
No, I didn't mean for McTavish. I'm just saying, would Sather, what do you think he would give up? I mean, sure, if he's just going to give up McTavish, I would make.
Well, I don't think you get one of the players off his front two lines. So therefore, what are you going to get?
A number one draft pick, which is useless because that's really a number two pick because they drafted so late.
You're not going to get a number one draft pick for Peter Kleeman.
I think you could. Well, they've got him to give because they got all those draft picks from L.A.
But LA is going to end up fairly high, or they're not. They're going to be in the middle of the pack. So
you don't think Glenn Sather? I think Glenn Sather would give up a number one pick for Peter Kleeman.
Well, in regards to what you're saying, give up an Edmonton number one pick, but he won't give up the LA pick because LA should be in the middle of the pack.
I agree. The Edmonton number one pick is it,
which will be a higher pick for Edmonton.
Now the Bob Probert situation. This guy goes around like he's king, you know what? He says, well, I'm Bob Probert, the Red Wings aren't going to do it. I've heard he's had so many chances, and there's so many things that haven't even hit the paper that he's been involved in.
Well, I can tend to believe that. I think Jacques Demers has worked with him. I think the whole Red Wing organization has worked with him. But there again, as I said just a minute ago, I think the kid has to realize he's got a very short career. 10, 12 years fly by. And where's he going to get the opportunity to make the kind of money that he is? He's from this area, and if he would really get his act together, knowing Detroit, the sports city it is, and you can just look at the athletes that have stayed in this city after they finished their careers, and I think that speaks highly of the city. And I think if Bob Probert would get his act together, really get his head screwed on right, he could come out and be very successful in this area.
Very interesting. Former Red Wing Dennis Hextall is our guest on Sports. We're going to come back and talk more, including the Red Wings without Kleeman Probert. Can they win this division? We'll find out Dennis Hextall's opinion after this timeout.
Welcome to the finest sports medicine center in southeastern Michigan. High school athletes, top Detroit pro athletes, are weekend warriors. We treat them all with the most sophisticated equipment for athletic injuries. Computer testing of injuries with Cybex and the new Lido machine, and of course a wide array of Nautilus equipment, all supervised by sports medicine physicians, physical therapists, and athletic trainers. We've got 3 convenient locations in Metro Detroit, Detroit and Riverside Osteopathic Hospitals, and the new Horizon Health and Surgery Center. So what are you waiting for? Call today and start feeling better.
It's time to eat and I'm so hungry now. My stomach's turning upside down. Day or night when I want a bite, I want the best little burger in town. French fries, onion chips, creamy chocolate shakes, baby, they're so hard to refuse. For dinner or lunch, there's a lot to munch, and for breakfast you just can't lose. Little day, it's Top Hat, make it quick, stop at Top Hat.
That was me, John Rouser, not too many years ago, as a defensive back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. after my playing career at the University of Michigan had ended. Now I'm proud to be co-owner of the Sting, Detroit's most dynamic nightclub. We've got continuous live DJs, continuous videos, and live entertainment every weekend. But you don't have to disco. The Sting is also a great after-work place to meet other professional people who frequent our lounge. So stop in and see us at the Sting. We're in the old Playboy Club, the lodge at Greenfield, with plenty of lighted, secured parking.
Hey, where's the meat?
It's right here at Cattleman's Meat Center, where you can buy fresh, lean, top-quality beef, pork, veal, poultry, even fish. Packing house style. Save up to 40%. Quality guaranteed.
Where's the meat?
Come inside our 3,500 square foot cooler for everyday low prices like grand opening special, boneless strip steaks, $1.99 a pound. Cattleman's Meat Center, Eastern Market area, and Hamtramck. No limit, save up to 40%.
You said it, honey.
We're back on Sports View. Former Red Wing Dennis Hextall is here. And Dennis, the Wings without Probert Cleveland, can they win this division? In my opinion, this still division is just plain awful.
I think the division has got a lot stronger over the last couple of years, and I think Jock Demers has a lot to do with that, and Mike Healich, the Red Wing organization. I think they can get by without Klima. I don't think they can. They may win the division, but they won't go very far in the playoffs without a Bob Probert. He is just too important to this hockey club.
Leading it farther, I don't think they'll get by him with or without him going out of this division. I think Calgary and Edmonton are both too strong for the Red Wings still. I know the Red Wing fans thinking, well, Edmonton traded Gretzky, they can be beaten, anybody can be beaten, but I don't think the Red Wings are still on the same plateau as Edmonton or Calgary.
I think they picked up some offensive punch. I think McLean should help him once he gets adjusted, and I think Preacher out of the Toronto trade will help him. I think they got rid of Darren Veach partly because of the incident last year in Edmonton, and I don't think Darren Veach would have played on this club this year.
Well, I think another thing, I thought he was having a very poor year before that. Even that inside, I thought he had a very poor season a year ago, after being, in my opinion, 2 years ago, the Red Wings' best defenseman.
Possibly, yes. He does not like the rough going, and
No.
I think he showed it a few games last year that I saw. And I think some of the kids have matured. I think Rink Zombo's really come along,
solid.
and that's what they need, some of the leadership from the younger kids, and they're finding out what it takes to win, what it individually takes to win, team-wise also, and they're going to pay that price. And I think with Bob Probert, they got a chance of upsetting Edmonton or Calgary, who are the favorites on this side of the draw for the Stanley Cup. But I don't think they got a chance without him. He's just too big, he demands too much respect, and he's one of the toughest kids in the league. And how many players can you find in the league that are tough but just score you 25, 30 goals?
Not many in this league.
And that's a quality that other teams don't have.
Looking at Jacques Demers, Dennis, the pressure on him to bring back Probert and Klima. They played poorly the first two starts. They played Monday night. We were taping the show Monday morning against in Calgary. At what point do you think the Red Wing fans will be starting screaming for Klima and Probert?
I don't think you'll see a lot of them screaming for Klima. Maybe it's my feelings. I've seen him play good games. I've seen him play poor games. And I don't think he really gives you the effort on the road. And if you're going to win the division, you have to have people that are going to play on the road. Therefore, if he's not going to play on the road, you're not going to win with him. Bob Probert, you have to have. But it would be to the benefit of the Red Wings to let him go through the Betty Ford program, regardless of what it takes, and get him straightened out. Even if you write him off this year, to bring him out early and then have the same problem again at the tail end of the year next summer, you haven't benefited. So you've got to let him complete his stay there, and hopefully when he comes out, he'll have his head on straight, and from that point on, he'll contribute to the team.
You don't think Edmonton and Calgary are both much stronger than the Red Wings right now? I mean, even if they brought...
I think they are. I think Gretzky basically beat Calgary last year. I think Gretzky didn't win the scoring championship. He had that big rest. He came back and he was all pumped up, trying to show everybody that he was #1 again. And I thought he played some of the best hockey I've ever seen him last year in the playoffs against Calgary. Excuse me, but Edmonton's still got a good hockey club. Carson scored 50 goals in L.A.
55, yeah.
Playing with questionable talent compared to what he's going to be surrounded with in Edmonton. So I think Carson can repeat. I would think that the wingers that played with Gretzky could tail off a bit, but I think Carson will pick it up.
You're looking at the situation with, like Rick Zombo was on the show, a great defenseman. I think he's the best defenseman the Red Wings have. Made a comment he wouldn't trade Joe Murphy for Jimmy Carson right now. Your comment on that?
Well, it wouldn't take. I think I'd make that trade right now. Yeah.
Yes, and throw a little bit more in.
And what else do you want? Yeah. No, and that's not knocking Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy's loaded with talent. He just.
Does he have the guts and the heart and the desire?
There again, I don't know him well enough to say yes or no, but I've talked to the kid very briefly, and he's got the talent, but he's got to be able to put it in place and contribute. And whether he's got the attitude and the guts or intestinal fortitude, we don't know yet.
I maintain that if you're smart in sports today and you have tools, that you can be a star. In hockey, evidence by, you mentioned Jimmy Carson, to a lesser extent, of course, more of an extent, I should say, Wayne Gretzky and things like that. It seems like if you're sharp and on top of your game and you're smart, Stevie Yzerman, you can make something go a long way, but the people that have the most ability doesn't seem like they're the best players in the league.
Well, that's always been the case. There's always been, even when I played, there was players that were just loaded with talent, and they'd be around for a couple of years. And
here, you spent how many years in the NHL? 12?
I had 12 years in the league, and like I said,
You didn't have the talent they did. You had marginal talent, wouldn't you say?
I'd say marginal talent, and didn't have the wheels that some of these kids have. And I remember playing with guys that could skate all day, but they wouldn't go in the corners, they wouldn't work. So you've got to take what you're good at and apply it and be part of the team.
You almost coached this Red Wing team a few years ago, and you turned that down. You have any second thoughts on that, Dennis?
Well, it's always easier to, after you've had a chance to think about it, but the coaching job was offered to me when they got rid of Wayne Maxner. Billy Day come back in. Excuse me, but the way the situation was, the management had no idea where they were going, and they were losing, and they were looking for a short-term fix. And put it this way, had I known that Mike Elich was in the background looking to buy the club, because everything he's touched has been very successful, which is a tribute to that man himself, then it would have been interesting to take the job and see what would have happened. Because even for the first 2-3 years when Elich bought the club, they struggled. And he's changed personnel until he's found the right people.
And he got Jacques Demers in.
Yes, he did.
Did he, in your mind, save Jimmy Devellano's job?
I would think he did a good job of it.
Yeah.
How much, I'm not sure.
What do you think of Jacques as a coach and what he's meant to this team?
Well, I think he demands respect. I think he's cocky, which you have to be. And he's done an awful lot. He's got that team playing together and believing in themselves. And that's hard to instill in some players that have continually lost. You take a person that's losing every night and you go out there and try to change his attitude that he's a winner. That's a tough job. And so Jacques Demers deserves credit for that.
I know you haven't seen the Red Wings yet, but what's your general feeling of the talent on this club right now? And what I like is the defenseman. I think that they've got some stay-at-home defensemen. That's why, in my opinion, Edmonton's going to win again, because they've got more than Detroit does up front, speed and goal scoring, and the best goaltender in the league, I would think, in Grant Fuhr, although your nephew is right up there too.
Well, I think they're solid in goal. They got two goaltenders that, when they're on their game, are very capable of playing with the best in the league. I think their defense is young. They've gained experience over the last 2 or 3 years.
They stay at home. That's what they don't make mistakes.
Well, they play a defensive style of hockey. And where I think the Wings have benefited this year, last year, you watch them in the playoffs, they could play toe-to-toe with Edmonton, but they couldn't seem to finish off and get the goals. Edmonton come down, they just seemed to get the goals a little easier.
Sure, good point.
They've picked up a couple wingers, which I've said have proven they can score goals. They give up a guy like Brent Ashton, who I hated to see go. I think he's a good all-around hockey player.
Boy, can he skate.
And he's got all the tools, plus he's going to score you 25 or 30. They got McLean, who has got the ability to score you 40 to 50 goals.
Good on the power play, which they were weak at last year, the Red Wings. 13th in the league, I believe.
So, and like I say, if Preacher can chip in 25, 30 goals, now they got a little more scoring punch. They could play in the same defensive style of hockey, and if these two kids fit into the system, they could be a better offensive team along with their defensive ability, and they're one of the better defensive teams in the league.
We'll be back and close it out with former Red Wing Dennis Hextall after this timeout.
Here comes
comes air conditioning satisfaction. Carrier. Research proves Carrier owners are more satisfied than owners of any other air conditioning brand. Carrier satisfaction. Year after year after year. Buy satisfaction now and get a $200 rebate. Call for details.
This is Dennis Krieger inviting you to call me at Town Center Heating and Cooling in Dearborn. We're located just 1 mile from I-94 and the Southfield freeways.
We aren't comfortable until you are.
The Tigers continue their drive toward the Eastern Crown this summer on Pass. Pull up a chair for 80 live Tiger telecasts with Larry Osterman calling the action, along with former Tiger great Jim Northrup as they track Sparky Sluggers through their demanding big league schedule. That's more games than you'll find telecast on any other channel. So bring the action of the majors to your house today, because when the Tigers step to the plate, they're at home on Pass.
Binary Computers is celebrating their 9th anniversary, and how they've become one of Detroit's top independent computer dealers is really simple. A great selection of brand name computer products, outstanding service, and highly knowledgeable trained consultants who make things understandable in plain English. Binary now has facsimile machines and telephone systems, so stop in for special anniversary savings at Binary Computers, Metro Detroit's Business Computer Center, Woodward at 12 Mile, Berkeley. Remember, if you haven't got a computer, you'd better get one before your competitor does.
Thermo Window, the Midwest exclusive manufacturer of the Polytex 4 vinyl replacement window, is celebrating their anniversary with an unbelievable 5-day offer. This week only, buy 5 windows for $995. Our thermo insulated tilt-in windows are specially designed to make cleaning a snap, and they have a lifetime warranty. At Thermo Window, we manufacture, install, service, and guarantee what we sell. 5 windows, only $995. Call today for a free in-home estimate.
Closing it out with former Red Wing Dennis Hextall. Dennis, the Stanley Cup Finals, who's your prediction right now to be in? Who's going to win it?
Well, I'd like to see Detroit on this side, obviously, and I think they do got a bona fide chance. Edmonton and Calgary are going to beat each other up again this year, and hopefully Detroit can come through and beat them. Obviously, on the other side, I got a hope for Philadelphia, and I think they do have a legitimate chance.
Yes, I agree with you. I picked them to win it last year, but Kerr's got to stay healthy.
I think any team, that's the whole thing. In any pro sports, you've got to have a healthy team.
What are you doing these days, Dennis?
I'm a manufacturer rep. I got into the business when I was just finishing up with hockey, and I've stayed in it. Our rep firm is Maybe Associates, and we sell for a company called R&B Manufacturing, a division of Masco Corporation, or Masco Industries, and it's been very successful, and I've enjoyed it. We meet new people, and every day is a little different.
Have you ever thought of getting back into hockey as a coach or anything?
Right now, it would take an awful lucrative offer to change my mind, but no.
And guaranteed long term, too.
Yeah, some of the coaches don't stay around too long.
No. Well, thanks for coming on, Dennis. Been a pleasure.
Thank you. I've always enjoyed it.
Okay, the advertisers on Sportsview today, Al Dietrich Oldsmobile and M59 in Waterford. Sports Fans Journal, yeah, it's going strong. 3rd year now. It's made it big. If you'd like to subscribe to this, dial this number 24 hours a day for more information, 751-1818. Then we have TK Seafood Grotto, a nice seafood restaurant on Southfield at 10 Mile. Sports Medicine Center with 3 locations, headed by Jack Moores. Top Hat Hamburger, where you won't find Bob Page. He's in New York doing who knows what, but they have 2 new locations to serve you. The Sting, a hot new nightclub on James Cousins at the Lodge. Cattleman's Meat Center in the Eastern Market in Hamtramck. Town Center Heating and Cooling. Pro-Am Sports Systems, Binary Computers, Woodward at 12 Mile, and Thermo Window if you're trying to replace your window. And we'll be back the next show with Kurt Sylvester and Mike O'Hara, the beat writers, covering the Detroit Lions. Bye-bye, everybody.